In a nutshell, climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. While these shifts may happen naturally, since the Industrial Revolution, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas, which produces what we call greenhouse gas emissions. These greenhouse gas emissions trap heat in the atmosphere, leading to an increase in temperature. This is important because this increase in temperature is disrupting our environmental systems. These environmental impacts are in turn affecting our social and economic systems, making climate change one of the most complex systemic issues of our time. Brambles, through its global brand CHEP, has been playing an active role in decarbonization and broader sustainability for many years. Our business model is intrinsically low emissions intensive due to its circularity. Effectively, we manage a pool of pallets and containers that are constantly being shared and reused by our customers, which means we minimize the amount of new assets we need to get manufactured and delivered to us, and we minimize the amount of waste that's produced in our operations. Being pioneers of the circular business model means that, by definition, we are better placed to play our role in tackling the climate change challenge. Brambles' emissions come from several key sources. Firstly, the sites we operate, including our offices and the service centres where we inspect and repair our pallets. The 97% of remaining emissions happen along our value chain, mainly from subcontracted transport services, outsourced service centres, the new pallets and repairing materials that we purchase, and the third-party management of the waste we produce in our operations. To play our role in addressing the causes of climate change, Brambles has publicly committed to supporting the goal of the Paris Agreement to keep the global average temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. In line with this overall commitment and our vision to work towards regenerative supply chains, we have set a suite of climate-positive targets as part of our global sustainability program. These include a short-term target to power all our CHEP sites with 100% renewable electricity by 2025, carbon neutrality in our operations, which we achieved in 2021, but we will continue to maintain by reducing emissions from Scope 1 and 2 and compensating any residual emissions with high-quality carbon offsetting projects. To complement our short-term targets, we have set medium-term science-based targets to reduce our absolute Scope 1 and 2 emissions from our CHEP sites by 42% and our absolute Scope 3 emissions from our value chain by 17%, both by 2030 on a 2020 baseline. And lastly, we have set a long-term target to achieve net zero emissions by 2040, covering 100% of our operational and value chain emissions. To achieve these targets, we need three things: projects to reduce emissions along our value chain. For that, we're going to focus on operations, both our own and subcontracted, logistics, and procurement. Secondly, we need processes to progressively embed our decarbonization targets into our strategic and financial decision-making. And lastly, we need people. Our people at Brambles, our suppliers, our customers, the broader industry, and governments around the world. We will need to collaborate and support each other to achieve not only our corporate targets, but also the overall goal of the Paris Climate Agreement.